I just can't wrap my head around you, Lenka. Our guys are off at the bathhouse, and you're sitting there like a bump on a log, Dasha remarked, perplexed. Really, nothing's wrong. They'll take a soak and be back before you know it. I don't get why you're so antsy, her companion responded with a grin. The pair had forged their friendship through their husbands 3 years prior. Each time the men headed to the bathhouse, they turned it into a mini ladies' night. For over a year now, this custom had blossomed. While the men indulged in steam and beer, the women savored wine and delightful chats. It was a win-win. Yet each time, Lena found herself irked by Dasha's concerns about the bathhouse escapades. Oh, I can't help it. I keep worrying that there might be women lingering around them. The last thing I want is for my Lyosha to get sidetracked and find someone else, Dasha lamented. Come on, that's just ridiculous. They're only there to steam and sip beer. I bet there aren't any women lurking about, Lena countered firmly. Have you ever seen soap operas? Dasha asked, almost breathlessly. Honestly, Dash, why are you letting him go if you're convinced he's having a blast with some other girl there? Why should I hold on to him? Gotta respect his wishes, you know. If you truly respect it, then have faith in it. Quit tormenting yourself. So spill the beans, where are you planning to head for the beach this year? Lena tried to change the subject, and by golly, she managed to do it. For a good 30 minutes, Dasha avoided mentioning spouses and sauna baths, but then she went right back to singing her tune. Can't help it, I shut my peepers, and all I see is him in that steam room, aflame with some young hottie. It's wrenching my soul, yeah, feel me? What's the deal with this steam room anyway? How long has it been since you hit the baths? Lena queried. Ain't a fan of steam rooms, ain't my cup of tea. Last time I stepped foot into a bathhouse. Must have been when I was about 7 years old. Hated it so much, I never ventured back again. Lena pondered and realized that Dasha had never experienced a simple, ordinary bathhouse. It seemed that during her childhood, Dasha's mother had taken her to a women-only bathhouse, where they would later shower together. Dasha herself had actually been to such a place once, but the image of the saggy breasts and unkempt hair she witnessed haunted her ever since. She didn't enjoy the experience then, and the thought of it now still didn't sit well with her. Dash, I don't think you truly grasp how our husbands unwind, Lena said, trying to bring her point across. I've been thinking, why don't we visit their bathhouse? Dasha's immediate reaction was dismissive. You must be kidding. No way. Definitely not them. I know of a great spot, Lena persisted, harking back to her previous visit with some girlfriends. It's clean, cozy, and it even has a pool. Trust me, I'm extending this invitation to you, so please don't decline. Dasha voiced her concerns, but it's probably expensive, isn't it? Don't fret about that, I'll foot the bill, Lena assured her. We deserve some fun too. Dasha's next concern revolved around their children. What about the kids? Lena explained, the youngest is in kindergarten, and the older ones can stay at home by themselves. They're not too little anymore. Moreover, we can even call Katya from the 19th apartment to keep an eye on them. Dasha and Lena were both mothers to 3 children, the youngest being 3 years old and the older sons aged 5 and 7. It seemed as if they had perfected the art of spacing their pregnancies, with each child celebrating a birthday in the same month as their siblings. Dasha pondered the proposition for a moment before finally giving in. An hour later, they found themselves at a charming little house, the very place where the sauna awaited them. Dasha couldn't shake the nagging feeling that crowds would start emerging from every corner, yet they were alone, just the 2 of them. Where is everybody? She queried. Who's everyone? It's just us, Elena replied with a cheerful grin. Just us. This whole place is ours. Absolutely. The sauna's already heated up, so let's indulge in some steam. Oh, I'm a bit anxious. Isn't it bad for you? Not at all. It's actually quite beneficial. Come on, let's go. Donning their swimsuits, the women settled into the steam room. The warm, humid air enveloped her skin, stinging slightly, yet Dasha found it strangely enjoyable. Tiny beads of perspiration trickled down her body, creating a sensation that was almost ticklish. Are you enjoying this? Lena inquired. Absolutely, it's fabulous, and the aroma is divine. That's lavender. I sprinkled some on the hot stones. It's really calming. I didn't expect it to be like this. That's exactly why I invited you. Thanks, Dasha replied, clearly savoring the moment. They lingered for a few moments longer, acutely aware that they were nearing their limit, when endurance would wane. Dasha, are you in the mood for a little adventure with someone right now? I can barely catch my breath, her friend grinned in response. And I bet Lyosha wouldn't want it either. You know what I'm talking about, right? Dasha chuckled. She finally grasped the reason behind her husband's monthly trips to the bathhouse. They simply enjoyed subjecting themselves to the searing power of steam, an experience unlike anything women could fathom. You're right, I admitted foolishly. Shall we depart now? I fear I may perish. I believe that's sufficient for our first visit, Lena concurred, rising from the sturdy bench. Let's take a brief respite and return. Covered by towels, they exited the steam room, basking in the refreshing touch of the air upon their skin. Dasha sighed with profound relief. But that's not all, Elena said mischievously. Close your eyes. I have a surprise for you. I'm not much of a fan of surprises, Dasha remarked. You'll fancy this one, I guarantee, Lena assured her with a smile. Dasha obediently shut her eyes. Lena grasped her hand and guided her in an unknown direction. By some strange assumption, her companion believed that upon opening her eyes, she would witness a seductive performer, or something akin to it. Perhaps a half-naked individual adorned with sushi. However, to her surprise, she felt a sudden push on her back, plunging her into freezing water within the blink of an eye. The sensation was beyond belief. Initial horror swiftly transformed into indescribable bliss. Resurfacing, Dasha heard Lena plunging into the pool alongside her. Apologies, but I couldn't convince you to partake in any other fashion, her friend proclaimed with a smile. You truly are a coward. Speaking of which, Dasha gasped for breath, still awestruck by the beautiful horror. Do you regret it? This sensation is simply unbelievable. Now it's scorching and moments later, it's bone-chilling. It's as though I'm detached from my own body. That was the intention, Lena grinned. All right, let's exit before we catch a cold. You'll eventually get accustomed to it. They clambered out of the pool and arrived in a small area furnished with a table and inviting chairs. Dasha enveloped herself in a sheet and gladly settled into one of them. I wouldn't mind a beer right about now, she dreamily articulated. Consider it done, Lena replied, removing 2 bottles of beer from the fridge, along with a plate of various appetizers. Wow, it's like a scene from a fairy tale. Will you be steaming again? Indeed, I shall go later, Dasha expressed eagerly, desiring to relive the entire experience once more. She was utterly thrilled with all that was unfolding around her, scarcely acknowledging that the very same was occurring with their partners. Little by little, her thoughts shifted to the notion that the men were simply indulging in a bit of leisure at the bathhouse. They lounged, chatted, had a good time, and savored a momentary escape from their domestic lives. That was really all there was to it. The gals had a fab evening together. They chilled in the sauna, took a dip in the pool, and had a few briskets. On the ride home, Dasha couldn't shake her unease. Len, you seriously ain't worried about losing Kolya? Sometimes I feel like you don't even love the guy. That's absurd. I do love him, I just don't see it like you do. What do you mean? I don't get it, her friend inquired. Lena struggled to convey her thoughts to Dasha without hurting her feelings, but her groggy state muddled her senses. Look, you're panicking about Lyosha because you're terrified of losing him, she began. Well, duh, of course I am. He's my husband. It's only natural, Dasha shot back. No, not really. Kolya is my husband too, but I don't share that fear. But why not? That's what I'm trying to understand, Dasha queried. I'll explain, but promise you won't be offended, all right? I can't imagine what you could say that'd offend me. Promise. You fear losing Lyosha because you can't manage without him. You have 3 kids. If he left, you'd go nuts. You don't have a job or any marketable skills. Plus, you're living in his apartment, one he bought before your marriage. You wouldn't last a month solo, got it? I don't quite follow. Are you implying I'm worthless without him? Or that I don't genuinely love him? Dasha asked, a tinge of resentment in her voice. No, you definitely love him, but your fear of losing him stems from dependence. He's your lifeline, money, affection, kids, your entire world. If he left you for another woman, which you're scared of, you'd be left with zilch. Out on the street with the kids, no job, no financial support. You know that deep inside, which is why you're spiraling. What do you mean by spiraling? Dasha retorted. You're driving him mad with your jealousy. He's at the bathhouse, and you're bombarding him with calls every 5 minutes, trying to keep tabs. The only reason you didn't call him today was that you were at the bathhouse yourself, and I confiscated your phone. And before that, it was just endless blabbering. Release a man and have faith in him. You really place that much trust in your Kolya? Dasha inquired, her tone tinged with reluctance. She had not anticipated their chat taking this turn. Absolutely. Moreover, I'm aware that solitude wouldn't bring me misery. Of course, I'd be somewhat downhearted because I adore him too. But once the initial storm of emotions calms, I'd muster my courage and push forward. Beyond that, my life wouldn't really alter all that much. I have no fears about being on my own. Ah, but you do worry, because he's all you've got, her companion interjected sharply. True, I only have 1 child because I recognized early on how challenging it is to raise 2 or 3 kids in this day and age, not to mention the myriad hassles. Come on, nobody pressured you into having 3. It's just that my Lyosha adores kids, Dasha countered. Your Lyosha enjoys the process of making kids, not necessarily the kids themselves. Sure, he's fond of them now, but I bet he'd have been ready for the next, even if you weren't. Let's face it, the decision ultimately rests with the woman. And let's not kid ourselves, many keep having them assuming the husband will stick around for good. Unfortunately, some tales have a different ending. That's exactly what scares me. That dread is stifling your life, don't you think? Perhaps. So what's to be done about it? I can't exactly rewind life and stop, like you chose to do after your first child. Indeed, you can't. And frankly, I don't think you'd want to if you could. You cherish all your kids, after all. What you need right now is to face what's in front of you. Are you eager to conquer your fear of losing your husband? Yes, I am. Well then, hop to it and make a change. Your little Alyona is no longer a baby. She's 3. She can start preschool, and you can head back to work. Every dime helps. More cash for you and the kids. If you believe you can handle something on your own, that fear will start to fade. Me work. Dasha echoed, her voice tinged with hesitancy. But who's going to mind the kids? Who'll handle the cooking, the cleaning, the laundry? You think our place turns into a pigsty, or we starve because I work? No, that's not my point, Dasha protested. Sure, I don't bake pies every other day and choose to buy bread instead of forcing homemade goods on everyone. But it's not like we're wasting away. Everything can be balanced. And kids, they need to learn self-reliance, not be coddled till they walk down the aisle. You've got it too easy being a stay-at-home mom, and you know it. Admit it. There's a convenience in claiming the role of housewife. Take a breath, Lena urged. Maybe I actually enjoy doing the household chores. What's so wrong about that? Nothing at all, except you're envious of Leosha at every turn and constantly trying to control him. It's becoming a never-ending cycle, came the reply. I know, but genuinely, I have your best interests at heart. You need to understand that life is highly unpredictable. One must be prepared for anything. Leosha shouldn't be the center of your world. Loving someone is one thing, but being dependent is another matter entirely. Any kind of dependency erodes you from within. But I don't want to work. Join the club. Nobody relishes the thought of waking up at the crack of dawn and slogging to a job. However, that's just how it rolls. Is there no other way around? Well, honestly, I'm not sure. Maybe there is, but none that I can see. It's not like we're stuck in the Dark Ages, where women lacked rights and were burdened only with duties, the foremost being childbearing. No, times have changed. You just have to grasp that reality. The taxi pulled up to Dasha's place, and she disembarked gracefully. Thank you for a fantastic evening, she uttered with a beaming countenance. Shall we repeat this delightful experience sometime soon? Absolutely, Dasha concurred. She arrived home, released Katya, settled the children in bed, and found herself unable to cease pondering her conversation with Lenka. Seated in the kitchen, savoring a cup of tea, her husband arrived, contented albeit a tad fatigued and flushed. Hey, how was your time at the sauna? She queried, a smile playing on her lips. It was marvelous. And how did you spend your evening? Lyosha, eyeing her cautiously, had spent the entire night glued to his mobile, yet hadn't received a single call from her. Isn't she unwell? Believe it or not, we indulged in a sauna session, she informed, his reaction catching her off guard. What, at the sauna? Did you enjoy it? He inquired, not anticipating such a turn of events. Immensely. I must admit, it was quite an experience. Saunas are truly invigorating. And where were you? He queried. At the Red, she disclosed. Ah, yes, it's quite lovely. Everything has been taken care of, but it is a tad pricey. Lenka treated me, he remarked. You're a lucky one. Speaking of which, since you enjoyed it, perhaps next time we could go together as a family? Dasha inquired, astonishment evident in her voice. She hadn't realized this was a possibility. A while back, Leosha had suggested they go together, but she had consistently declined. Perhaps I shouldn't have done it, he pondered aloud. Yes, we can bring the children along as well. It would do them good, and they can even swim in the pool, she added, her voice tinged with a wistful tone. Well, that would be marvelous, Dasha replied, her smile reflecting her dreamy disposition. My dear, are you feeling unwell, Pat? Inquired her husband hesitantly. No, I'm perfectly fine. Why do you ask? Dasha responded with a smile. I noticed you haven't called me all day. Ah, so you did notice. But I've been preoccupied. I suppose I've drained your energy, but I'm getting used to it. Or rather, I should get used to it. By the way, I've been contemplating the idea of returning to work. Leosha was taken aback by this unexpected revelation. Well, today has certainly been a day of revelations for them. Why this sudden change? He inquired curiously. Honestly, I'm not sure. Maybe because I fear that tomorrow you might pass away or leave me, and I'll be left all alone. Dasha's words were met with disbelief, causing her to burst into laughter. Where on earth did these thoughts come from? I'm definitely not going to die. And I have no intention of leaving you either. I know. It's just, you never know what the future holds. Langford is right, we should be prepared for anything. So, are you against me going back to work? Dasha asked, her voice tinged with hope. No, I don't mind at all. If you're feeling bored, go ahead and find yourself a job. Just don't come crying to me later, all right? He playfully remarked. Dasha's hope waned as she realized Leosha wasn't fully supportive, confirming her suspicion that she had outstayed her role as a stay-at-home mom. It was time to regain some independence and dignity. After all, one cannot solely work for the betterment of the family. I won't. But I still want to take that bath we were talking about. Next time, let's all go together. Even next weekend, her husband cheerfully agreed, planting a kiss on her cheek.